Morning. I haven't been making many videos here recently on YouTube or anywhere else for that matter. I think it's mainly because I've moved quite recently. I'm living down here right now in foggy old Cornwall. Look at the fog behind me there. And my patterns haven't really established. You know what I mean? Like I found a few good walks for the dog, but not ones that I take regularly enough for them to. God, what do I mean? Well, after a while, you know, when you've done something over and over again, the details of it kind of fade into the background. You do it kind of automatically. I haven't got that for walking the dog or many other things yet, and it's only really once that's happened that I feel comfortable to have a camera in my hand. So this feels really uncomfortable, but it'll come in time, I'm sure. So I'm kind of forcing myself to make this video, to be honest, and I'm going to make 2 or 3 on this walk, just to try to, as I say, to force the habit back into my patterns, because I do enjoy doing it. What am I thinking about? Community, yeah. Let's just have a bash, shall we? I'm thinking about community actually, or I have been thinking about community recently, and specifically how big is a community? You know, what size is it, and what does it depend upon? And it's partly inspired by the whole YouTube community guidelines things and the Vimeo community guidelines, and how these things are evoked at certain points to justify the taking down of videos, or just the regulation of people's behaviours by one another, but ultimately authorised by the site, corporation, company, whatever. But I think it's a misnomer really, calling those things community guidelines. In fact, I think the whole reference to YouTube as a community is a misnomer. And I've seen 1 or 2 videos recently of people making appeals to the YouTube community. I don't think there is a YouTube community. You know, a community is very specific, isn't it? Oops, here comes another dog. I better just get off here. There's a fight. Come on, Phoebes. Phoebe! No, we're not going home yet. Come on. Hello. Got a little friendly little dog here. Look, I'll just show you. Look. This isn't my dog. Come on, Phoebe. They're just playing. I think it's fine. Come on, Phoebe. Anyhow, see if I can get back to it. The YouTube community. Oh yeah, it's a misnomer. There's no such thing. And even the communities that exist within YouTube, like the atheist community, which I guess I'm somehow by default part of, or the beer drinking community, or the anarchist community, or the pagan community. They are occasionally communities, but barely really. Very kind of fragile acrobats, those are really. And I think it's partly to do with 2 things. I think it's partly to do with numbers, and certainly the whole idea of the YouTube thing is a number thing. And it's partly to do with interdependence. So I do think there's a natural size to communities. I know there's been some research done on this, but I can't name names, unfortunately. That there are kind of natural sizes to how many people you can really form a community with before it starts to break up into subcultures and smaller groups. So it's partly down to that. I don't think you can really be in a community of more than about 150 people, and probably that's pushing it. And also within that, I think there has to be a sense of interdependence. I don't think a community exists unless you are somehow interdependent on one another. I don't necessarily mean for your whole livelihood or your total welfare, but there has to be some level of interdependence, and there's a little bit of that on YouTube and on other kind of social media sites, at least to the extent that if a community breaks down, or if you lose links with a community because, for example, a channel being flagged, then the conversation breaks down, doesn't it? You lose that possibility of communicating in conversational ways with the people you usually do that with, and that's a kind of interdependence, a conversational interdependence, and that's enough. That's enough. But unless you got that conversational interdependence, which I probably got with probably no more than about a dozen people realistically, then I think it's only under those circumstances that you can really call it a community. Because of those dozen or so people, maybe less than that even now, that I do feel slightly conversationally interdependent upon, I do feel like there is some kind of community guidelines in operation there. I know there's certain things which I could do which would upset those people, and so I won't do them. And I know there's some things which, if they did them, then I would detach from them, and that, I hope, would have at least a little bit of an impact on them, even if it's only a shrug of the shoulders, you know. But I think without that limitation on size and some kind of interdependence to motivate the policing of guidelines and indeed the evolution of guidelines in the first place, without that, you're not really talking about a community at all. You're just talking about a loose aggregate of people who are kind of agreeing or being forced to agree to the same terms. And YouTube's community guidelines are that. They're not guidelines for the community. They're top-down terms of service by another name, really, to do with management of brand identity, I suspect, or to do with the I don't know, the particular moral codes operating wherever Google has its headquarters. I think it's more to do with that than anything else. And because they don't represent any particular community, they're not really used as community guidelines. They're used as kind of sticks with which we can hit one another at times. You know, that's the only time that community guidelines are really adhered to, isn't it? When you don't like something, you can use the community guidelines as an excuse to punish the person who's expressing those views or making those images or whatever. Anyway, that was hard. I'll finish there because Phoebe wants to go home. She's so lazy. But I'll finish there because that's all I want to say right now. That'll do.